I was 21 years old when I stood in a small courthouse and married the man who had once been my mother's husband. I know how that sounds. I know what people called me. Homewrecker, ungrateful daughter, shameless girl. And for a long time, I hated myself so much that I believed every word. But what people did not see was the slow way it happened. They did not see the empty kitchen table where I sat alone every night. They did not see the messages he sent when my mother was asleep. They did not see how he studied my loneliness before he ever touched my heart. My name is Alara Wynn, and this is the story of the mistake that nearly destroyed my mother, destroyed me, and taught me the hardest truth of my life. Not every person who says they love you is loving you. Some people are only learning where you are weak. I was 18 when Marcus Hale first walked into our lives. My mother's name was Nora. She was 41 then, but sadness had made her look older. My father left when I was 9 years old. He packed 2 bags, kissed my forehead, told me he would call soon, and then became a ghost with a phone number that stopped working. After he left, my mother changed. She still cooked. She still worked. She still paid bills and folded laundry and reminded me to take an umbrella when the sky looked gray. But something inside her went quiet. At night, I would pass her bedroom and see her sitting on the edge of the bed, holding an old photo frame, staring at a life that no longer existed. I loved her so much it hurt. I used to pray, not for toys or money or school success, but for my mother to laugh again. Then Marcus came. He met her at a community charity dinner. That was how she told it. She came home that night wearing lipstick for the first time in years. Her cheeks were pink. Her voice sounded lighter. "There was a man there," she said, trying to sound casual. I looked up from my cereal and smiled. "A man?" She rolled her eyes, but she was smiling too. "Don't start." But I could see it. Something had sparked. A few days later, Marcus came to our house with flowers, white lilies for my mother, a little box of pastries for me. He was not handsome in a movie star way, but he knew how to carry himself. Tall, clean, calm, silver at the sides of his hair, warm voice, careful eyes. He shook my hand like I mattered. "Alara," he said, "your mother talks about you like you hung the moon." I laughed because I did not know what to say. Most adults spoke over me. Marcus spoke to me. That was the first hook. Not romance, not attraction. Attention. Please understand this. When a young person grows up with an absent father and a tired mother, attention can feel like sunlight after years of rain. Marcus noticed everything. If I changed my hair, he noticed. If I looked tired, he asked why. If I had an exam, he remembered. He brought groceries without being asked. He fixed the loose cabinet door in our kitchen. He changed the oil in my mother's car. He made pancakes on Saturday mornings and acted like it was the most natural thing in the world to be there. Slowly, our house changed. My mother laughed again. Music played while she cooked. She bought new curtains. She started wearing perfume. And I was happy. I told myself Marcus was a blessing. The man who repaired what my father broke. 6 months later, he proposed. My mother cried so hard she could barely say yes. I cried too. At the wedding, she wore a cream dress with lace sleeves. Marcus wore a dark suit. The room smelled like roses and hairspray. People clapped when they kissed. I remember thinking, finally, we are a family again. But sometimes the thing that looks like an answered prayer is the beginning of a lesson you never asked for. After the wedding, Marcus moved into our home. At first, everything felt normal. He cooked sometimes. He helped with bills. He drove my mother to appointments. He bought me school supplies and said he wanted to support my future. "You're a smart girl," he told me one evening while I was studying at the kitchen table. "Smarter than you think." No one had said that to me in a long time. My mother worked long shifts at the hospital cafeteria. She left before sunrise and came home with swollen feet and tired eyes. Marcus worked from home sometimes. That meant he and I were often alone. At first, I'd not think anything of it. He was my stepfather, a family member, a safe person. That was what I believed. But then I started noticing small things. His eyes stayed too long. When I walked into the kitchen, conversation stopped for half a second. If I wore a summer dress, he would say, "You're growing into a beautiful young woman." The words sounded harmless, but something about the way he said them made my stomach tighten. I pushed the feeling away. Because what else could I do? If I admitted it felt strange, then I had to admit something in our home was no longer safe. And I did not want that to be true. So I ignored it. That is how many bad stories begin. Not with one big choice. With one small discomfort you keep explaining away. One afternoon, I came home from college classes and failed to hold myself together. I had failed an important test. I felt stupid, behind, embarrassed. My mother was at work, so I sat at the kitchen table and cried into my sleeves. Marcus found me there. "Alara?" he said softly. "What happened?" I told him. I expected a lecture. Instead, he pulled out the chair beside me. "One test does not measure a whole person," he said. His voice was gentle. Too gentle. He reached across the table and took my hand. I froze. His palm was warm. His thumb moved slowly over my knuckles. I should have pulled away, but I didn't, because in that moment I did not feel wrong. I felt seen. That is the part I am ashamed to admit. I did not want him. Not at first. I wanted comfort. I wanted someone to say I was not failing at life. I wanted someone to choose my pain and sit beside it. Marcus knew that. Looking back, I believe he knew exactly what he was doing. After that day, something shifted. He began texting me at night. At first, the messages were innocent. "Did you eat? How was class? Your mother is asleep. Just checking on you." Then they changed. "You looked sad today. You have a beautiful heart. You don't know how special you are." I read those messages under my blanket with my phone brightness turned low. I should have felt alarmed. Instead, I felt important. My mother was always tired. My friends were busy with their own lives. But Marcus was there. Always there. Then came the line that opened the door to everything bad. "Your mother doesn't understand you the way I do." I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me knew it was wrong. Another part of me felt relieved, because someone had finally named the loneliness I had been carrying. I replied, "Maybe you're right." And after that, I was no longer just making a mistake. I was walking deeper into one. Marcus became careful. He never said too much at once. He planted thoughts like seeds. "Your mother is a good woman, but she is cold sometimes. You and I are more alike than you realize. Some people meet too late in life. You make me feel understood." Every message made the secret feel more powerful. That is how manipulation works. It does not always drag you. Sometimes it invites you. It makes you feel chosen. It makes the wrong thing feel rare. One evening, he asked me to meet him at a cafe across town. "Just to talk," he said. I knew I should say no. I knew secret meetings were not innocent, but I went. The cafe was small and quiet, with fogged windows and yellow lamps. Marcus sat in the back corner. When I walked in, he stood like I was someone precious. "Thank you for coming," he said. We talked for an hour, about my classes, about books, about my mother, about how lonely I felt inside my own life. He listened with his whole face. Then he said, "Elara, do you ever feel like you were born into the wrong story?" That question broke something open in me. Because yes, I did. I felt like everyone else had a map and I was walking through fog. Marcus made it sound beautiful. He made confusion feel like destiny. Soon we were meeting more often, always far from home, always with excuses. I told my mother I was studying. I told my friends I was busy. I started lying so naturally it scared me. But guilt has a strange weakness. If someone keeps feeding your loneliness, guilt gets quieter. When I turned 21, Marcus gave me a necklace, a small gold pendant shaped like a moon. He gave it to me in his car, parked beneath a tree outside a closed bookstore. "This is just from me," he said, "not from your mother." I held the necklace in my palm. It looked so delicate, so personal, so dangerous. "Marcus," I whispered, "you shouldn't—" "I know," he said, but he did not take it back. Then he said the words I had been both fearing and waiting for. "I love you." The car went silent. I could hear rain tapping the windshield. My heart beat so hard I thought he could hear it. "No," I said, but my voice was weak. "Yes," he said, not like a stepfather, not like family, like a man loves a woman. I should have opened the door. I should have run. I should have gone home and told my mother everything. But I stayed. That is the truth. I stayed because part of me wanted to believe I was powerful enough to make a grown man risk everything. That is an ugly truth, but healing requires ugly truths. Marcus told me my mother did not love him properly. He told me she was distant. He told me their marriage felt empty. He told me I was the only person who truly understood him. Then he said, "I tried to fight it." That sentence was poison wrapped in romance, because it made the situation sound tragic instead of wrong. It made betrayal sound like fate. For months, I lived two lives. In one life, I was Nora's daughter. I helped carry groceries. I asked about her day. I kissed her cheek before bed. In the other life, I was Marcus's secret. I answered late-night texts. I met him in hidden places. I let him tell me we were different, special, misunderstood, meant to be. Every night I felt myself splitting in half. One half loved my mother. The other half wanted the feeling Marcus gave me. And every day the wrong half got stronger. Then Marcus told me he was leaving her. He said he could not live a lie anymore. I cried when he said it. Not because I wanted him to stay with her. Because for the first time, the fantasy was about to become real. And reality has consequences. He asked, "Will you choose me?" That question became the knife. My mother or him. My blood or my secret. The woman who raised me or the man who made me feel chosen. I wish I could tell you I chose correctly. I didn't. I chose Marcus. I told myself it was love. I told myself love was messy. I told myself people would judge what they could not understand. But deep down, beneath all the excuses, I knew something was wrong. The body knows before the mind admits it. Marcus filed for divorce. My mother did not know the truth yet. He told her he was unhappy. He told her he needed a new life. He told her the marriage was over. I watched my mother become quiet again. Not the old, tired quiet. A new quiet. A broken one. She moved through the house like every room had turned against her. Sometimes I heard her crying in the bathroom with the faucet running. I would stand outside the door, my hand raised, wanting to knock. But I never did, because comfort from me would have been another lie. When the divorce became final, Marcus proposed to me. He did it in a park at sunset, under a tree with orange leaves. He knelt with a ring box in his hand. For one wild second, I felt like I was inside a movie. Then I saw a woman walking past with her daughter holding hands, and my throat closed. Because somewhere my mother was alone, and here I was wearing the ring of the man who left her. "Say yes," Marcus whispered. So I did. The truth came out 2 weeks later. Someone saw us together. Someone told my mother. She came to my apartment in the rain. I opened the door and saw her standing there with wet hair, red eyes, and a face I will never forget. Not anger first, not even disgust. It was disbelief. Like her mind could not accept that her own daughter had become part of her pain. "Tell me it is not true," she said. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. She stepped back like I had slapped her. "Oh my God," she whispered. "It's true." "Mom, no," she said. "Do not call me that right now." Those words destroyed me. She cried, then she shouted, then she cried again. She said I had stolen her husband. She said I had slept under her roof while lying to her face. She said I had taken the one place in her life where she thought she was finally loved and turned it into a joke. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to say Marcus chose me. I wanted to say we were in love. But every defense sounded rotten before it reached my mouth. Finally, she said, "You did not just betray me. You made me feel foolish for loving you." Then she left. That night, I sat on the floor with my engagement ring cutting into my finger and understood that love should not require you to become cruel to prove it. But I still did not leave. That is how far gone I was. People found out. Small communities do not need newspapers. They have mouths. Friends stopped answering my calls. Women whispered when I entered stores. Someone wrote a cruel word on my car window in red lipstick. I cried for days. Marcus held me and said, "See, no one understands us." That was how he turned everyone's judgment into a wall around me. He did not have to isolate me. My shame did it for him. We married quietly. No church, no flowers, no mother. Just a courthouse room with beige walls and a tired clerk who did not look up when we signed the papers. I wore a simple dress. Marcus wore a gray suit. When he kissed me, I waited to feel peace. I felt nothing. Not joy. Not relief. Just a hollow space opening inside me. But I told myself marriage would fix it. I told myself once we were truly together, the guilt would fade. Instead, the mask fell. Not all at once. Slowly. First, Marcus became impatient. The little things I did used to make him smile. Now they annoyed him. If I asked too many questions, he sighed. If I was quiet, he accused me of being dramatic. If I wanted to visit a friend, he asked why I needed other people when I had him. Then he started checking my phone. "Trust goes both ways," he said, scrolling through my messages. But he never let me touch his phone. He asked where I went, who I spoke to, what I wore, why I smiled at a cashier, why I took too long at the grocery store. At first, I thought jealousy meant love. Then I realized jealousy can also mean ownership. One evening, I told him I wanted to enroll in more classes. He laughed. Not loudly. Worse. Softly. "Alara, you barely finished the last ones." My face burned. "I can try." "You can," he said. "But let's be honest. You need guidance. That's why you have me." Guidance. That was what he called control. He said I was emotional, immature, ungrateful. He said my mother had poisoned people against us. He said my friends were jealous. He said no one would ever love me the way he did because no one else would forgive what I had done. That sentence became a cage. No one else would forgive you. He repeated it in different ways until I believed it. If I cried, he said I was acting like Nora. If I disagreed, he said I was becoming cold like Nora. If I asked for kindness, he said, "Now you sound exactly like your mother." He used her name like a weapon. And slowly I began to understand something horrifying. Marcus had not chosen me because I was special. He had chosen me because I was easier, younger, lonelier, more willing to believe. That realization did not arrive gently. It came during a fight. I had gone to lunch with an old classmate without telling him first. When I came home, Marcus was waiting in the living room. My phone was on the coffee table. He had guessed my password. "Who is Caleb?" he asked. "A friend from school." "A friend?" His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "We had lunch, that's all." He stood. "You lied to me." "I didn't lie. I just didn't think I needed permission." The room changed. His face hardened. "Permission?" I stepped back. He did not hit me. I want to be clear. He did not need to. Fear can enter a room without a hand ever being raised. He moved close enough that I could smell his cologne. "You ruined your relationship with your mother for me," he said. "You think anyone else is coming to save you?" My whole body went cold. There it was. The truth beneath everything. He knew I had nowhere to go. He knew he was the bridge I had burned my life to cross. And he knew I was terrified to admit the bridge led nowhere. That night, after he fell asleep, I sat in the bathroom with the door locked and looked at myself in the mirror. I was 22, but my eyes looked old. I whispered, "What have I done?" That question was the first honest thing I had said in years. A week later, we had the worst fight of our marriage. I do not even remember what started it. Something small. Dinner, money, my tone. With Marcus, small things became storms. He yelled until my ears rang. He called me foolish, disloyal, weak. He said I had betrayed my own mother, so of course I would betray him too. That was when I understood. He would never let me forget what I had done. Not because he cared about the hurt, because my shame gave him power. I grabbed my coat and ran. No bag, no plan, just bare survival. Outside, the night air was cold. I walked for almost an hour through streets blurred by tears. I had no friends left to call. No place that still felt open. Except one. My mother's house. I stood on her porch at 11:43 p.m., shaking so hard I could barely knock. The porch light came on. I saw movement behind the curtain, but the door did not open. "Mom," I cried. "Please." Nothing. I knocked again. "I know you hate me. I know I hurt you, but please, I don't know where else to go." Still nothing. So I sank onto the porch steps and told the door everything. I told her Marcus controlled my phone. I told her he called me stupid. I told her he used my guilt against me. I told her I was scared. I told her I had been wrong, not misunderstood. Wrong. That word broke me. "I was wrong," I sobbed. "I was wrong, and I am so sorry." For a long time, there was only silence. Then the lock turned. The door opened. My mother stood there in a robe, her face pale, her eyes full of pain. She did not hug me. She did not say it was okay, because it was not okay. She only stepped aside. That was mercy. Not forgiveness yet. Mercy. I walked inside and felt the past rise around me. The old couch, the family photos, the clock ticking above the kitchen doorway. Everything familiar, everything wounded. My mother made tea with shaking hands. We sat at the kitchen table where I had once done homework while she cooked dinner. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "You broke something in me, Alara." I nodded. "I know." "No," she said. "I need you to hear it. You broke something in me that I did not think my own child could touch." Tears ran down my face. "I know. I loved him," she said. "And I loved you more. That is what made it unbearable." I covered my mouth. Because there it was. The truth I had avoided. I had not just chosen Marcus. I had chosen him against the woman who loved me when my father left. The woman who worked until her feet swelled. The woman who gave me the last piece of chicken and said she was not hungry. The woman who had already been abandoned once. And I helped abandon her again. "I'm sorry," I whispered. My mother looked away. "I am not ready to forgive you." "I understand. But you can sleep on the couch tonight." That night, I lay under an old blanket and cried until my throat hurt. And strangely, for the first time in months, I felt safe. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Marcus called 14 times before noon. Then came the messages. "You are nothing without me. Your mother will never truly forgive you. Come home before you make this worse." I read them all. Then I blocked him. My hands shook when I did it. But I did it. The divorce was ugly. Marcus did what controlling people do when they lose control. He turned charming in public and cruel in private. He told people I was unstable. He told people I had chased him. He told people my mother and I were trying to ruin his life. For a while, I wanted to disappear. But my lawyer, a sharp woman named Celine Cross, told me something I carried like a shield. "Shame wants you silent. Healing requires truth." So I told the truth. Not perfectly, not proudly, but honestly. Yes, I made terrible choices. Yes, I betrayed my mother. Yes, I ignored warning signs. But yes, Marcus manipulated me. Yes, he isolated me. Yes, he controlled me. Yes, I needed to get out. All of those things were true. That is one of the hardest parts of growing up. Learning that your pain does not erase your responsibility, and your responsibility does not erase the harm done to you. Both can exist. Both must be faced. After the divorce, I started therapy. The first session felt like walking into a room with all my secrets written on the walls. My therapist, Dr. Miriam Vale, had a soft voice and kind eyes. She did not excuse me. She did not shame me. She helped me understand. She taught me about grooming, about emotional dependency, about control, about how older, manipulative people can create a private world where the wrong thing feels romantic. She also taught me accountability. "Alara," she said one day, "you were manipulated, but your mother was still hurt. Healing means holding both truths." I cried when she said that, because I wanted one clear label: victim, villain, fool, survivor. But real life is not that clean. Sometimes you are wounded and still responsible for the wounds you caused. So I began repairing what I could. Every Sunday, I went to my mother's house. At first, she barely spoke. I would sit at the kitchen table while she watered plants or folded laundry. Some weeks, she only said hello and goodbye. I accepted it. I did not demand forgiveness. I did not ask her to comfort me. I had taken enough from her. Now I had to learn patience. One Sunday, after months of silence, she placed a cup of coffee in front of me. No speech, no smile, just coffee. Her hand trembled slightly. I looked at the cup like it was a miracle. "Thank you," I said. She nodded and sat across from me. We drank in silence. That cup was the first bridge. Small, fragile, but real. Another Sunday, she asked if I was eating enough. I almost broke down. Because care from someone you betrayed feels heavier than anger. Anger you can understand. Care humbles you. Slowly we talked. Not about Marcus at first. About weather, food, neighbors, her garden. Then, one rainy afternoon, she told me what my betrayal had done to her. She said people pitied her. She said she felt foolish. She said losing Marcus hurt, but losing me nearly ended her. I would wake up, she said, and for 1 second I would forget. Then I remembered my daughter knew. My daughter was part of it. I held her hand and did not defend myself. I am sorry, I said. She cried. I cried. And that day something shifted. Not healed, not finished, but opened. Years passed. Healing was not a straight road. Some days my mother laughed with me. Some days she looked at me and remembered. Some days I forgave myself. Some days I hated the girl I had been. But I kept going. I got a job at a small bookstore called the Paper Lantern. The owner, Mrs. Adeline, wore bright scarves and smelled like vanilla tea. She gave me work when I had very little confidence left. I shelved books, helped customers, cleaned windows, learned inventory. The store became my quiet place. Books do not ask who you used to be before they let you touch them. They just wait to be opened. I made 2 friends there, Mira and June. They knew pieces of my story, not all of it at first. They were gentle with me. They invited me to lunch. They laughed loudly. They taught me that friendship could be easy. No secrets, no pressure, no hidden price. I also learned to be alone. That sounds simple, but it was not. Marcus had trained me to believe I needed someone watching me, guiding me, approving me. So the first time I went to a movie alone, I felt exposed. The first time I ate at a cafe alone, I kept checking the door. The first time I walked through a park alone, I cried because the air felt too open. Then slowly, freedom became less frightening. I painted my apartment blue. I bought plants. I learned to cook for one person without feeling lonely. I wrote in a journal. At first, every page began with guilt, then pain, then questions. Then one day, a different sentence appeared. I am still here. That sentence saved me. By the time I turned 30, my life looked nothing like the ruin I thought I deserved. I had my own apartment, a steady job, a small circle of friends, a mother who called every morning to ask if I had eaten breakfast. We were not the same as before. We never would be. But maybe repaired love is not weaker. Maybe it is just more honest. One Sunday, my mother and I were planting flowers in her garden. The sun was warm. Dirt was under our fingernails. For a long time, we worked without speaking. Then she said, "I forgive you." I stopped moving. The whole world seemed to go quiet. I looked at her. She was still placing flowers into the soil. "I do not forget," she said, "but I forgive you. And I want my daughter back more than I want to keep punishing her." I cried so hard I had to sit on the grass. She came beside me and put her arm around my shoulders. For the first time in years, my mother held me like I was her child again. Not perfect, not innocent, but loved. I saw Marcus one last time in a grocery store. He was with a young woman. She could not have been more than 20. She stood beside him holding a basket, looking up at him the way I once had. My heart turned cold. Marcus saw me. For 1 second, his face changed. Not guilt. Fear, because I knew him now. Not the charming version. The real one. The small man behind the beautiful words. I wanted to warn her. I wanted to grab her hand and say, "Run." But I also knew how I would have reacted at her age. I would have defended him. I would have called myself different. I would have said no one understood. So I did the only thing I could safely do. I looked at him long enough to let him know I remembered. Then I walked away. Not shaking. Not crying. Free. Later that year, I began volunteering at a women's support center. The first time I told my story in a group, my voice trembled so badly I could barely continue. I expected judgment. Instead, women cried. Some nodded. Some looked down because pieces of my story sounded like theirs. Afterward, a 19-year-old girl named Iris came to me. Her mother's boyfriend had been texting her, calling her mature, special, different. She thought maybe it was love. I held her hand and told her the truth I wish someone had made me hear. If a grown man has to hide his attention toward you, it is not love. It is danger. She cried. I cried with her. Months later, she came back and told me she had left that house and moved in with her aunt. "You helped me see it," she said. That was the first time I felt my pain become useful. Not worth it. I will never say that. Some things should never have happened. But useful. Redeemed in some small way. Turned into a warning light for someone else. So here is what I know now. Control is not love. Secret attention is not love. A person who makes you lie to the people who care about you is not protecting your heart. A person who isolates you is not choosing you. A person who uses your loneliness to pull you away from your values is not your soulmate. They are studying the lock on your door. And if you have made a mistake that hurt someone you love, listen to me carefully. Do not hide inside shame forever. Shame will tell you that because you did wrong, you can never do right again. That is a lie. Accountability is different. Accountability says, I did this, I hurt someone, I must face it, I must repair what I can, I must become someone safer. That is how healing starts. Not by pretending you were innocent, not by destroying yourself forever, by telling the truth and choosing better every day after. My name is Alara Wynn. I betrayed my mother. I trusted a man who used both of us. I lost my home, my dignity, my friends, and almost my future. But I came back. I apologized. I left. I healed. I rebuilt. And today, when I sit with my mother on Sunday evenings, drinking coffee in her kitchen, I know forgiveness is not a door that opens all at once. Sometimes it opens 1 inch at a time. A cup of coffee. A quiet question. A hand held during tears. A flower planted in the same soil where everything once fell apart. If my story reaches one person who is hiding a dangerous secret, I hope you hear this. Step into the light before the darkness becomes your life. Tell someone safe. Ask for help. Trust the uneasy feeling in your chest. And remember, real love will never ask you to become someone you cannot respect. If this story touched you, tell me in the comments where you are listening from. And if you have ever had to rebuild trust after a painful mistake, share one word that helped you survive. Your word might become hope for someone else. Subscribe for more emotional life stories about love, betrayal, forgiveness, healing, and the strength to begin again. Because your worst chapter may explain you, but it does not have to finish you.